What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my analysis of the new Fire Emblem Engage banner, which does have Alfred as the new Rearmed Unit, and he is going to be providing the Arcane Lance. So that is going to be really helpful for a lot of the Lance units, and I'll be making a separate video on the best users of it. So he's a Lance Cavalier and he has got Arcane Qiange as his lance, which is basically, lance in Chinese. And then he has got this weapon, which gives him -1 special cooldown, +5 to all of your stats, and it does have the Omni Breaker effect, where you can make a follow-up attack, and the enemy cannot make a follow-up attack. And then, whoever initiates combat, if they move to space, then you can get special cooldown charge +1 on both enemies' attacks and your own attacks. So this is going to be really useful for retaliating back with bonfires, or using this for Gale Force on Dancer Eldigan, which I use a lot. So this weapon is honestly pretty decent. It's not the most insane arcane weapon, but it is going to be pretty useful for many of the Lance users. And before I get asked, yes, I do think that this weapon is better than Death Knight's Weapon Refined, because you do get +1 special cooldown charge. So that is definitely a good trade-off compared to the +3 stats that you extra get. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a pretty nice weapon for a lot of the Lance units. And then he has got Bonfire, and then he also has his preferred skill, Self Improver, which gives him +10 visible attack, +5 visible speed, and +20 visible defense at the cost of -5 resistance. So he pretty much gets like 30 stats out of this skill, which is incredible. And because this is going to be the visible attack stat and visible defense stat, he's of course going to be susceptible to the chill skills of those skills, and he can also function well with AoE specials, because he's going to be getting that +10 visible attack stat. And then he can also get the guard effect if he's at or above 25% HP, so that is pretty useful just defensively. And then he has got Flow and Trace, which is a new line of skill, which does have the counter remaining +1, and it also has partial null follow-up built into it, just like a flow skill. So this is the perfect skill for so many flyers and cavaliers, because at the same time, you're going to be getting the partial null follow-up to bypass the follow-up negation effects of many enemies, and you also get the trace effect, which is absolutely amazing for the utility. So this is going to be an incredible skill, and you can actually get this and the Arcane Lance at the same time, and you can also get Crossbar Attack and the Arcane Lance at the same time. So Crossbar Attack is definitely going to be nice if you give this weapon to a dancer like Dancer Eldigan, for example, or Resplendent Azura. So overall, he's going to be functioning as a pretty amazing fodder, and unlike the other rearmed units like Gonglot or Ophelia, he actually stands out because of having the slotty skill, which can provide him the guard effect and also these visible stats. So it is definitely going to be pretty nice for him as a rearmed unit, where he's not just there for the fodder, but the preferred skill at least helps him stand out a little bit more. And when it comes to his stats, I do think that he's going to be having pretty high defense and just workable speed stat. I don't think he's going to be very fast, and I think he's just going to be having high attack and high defense. So that is my stat expectation out of Alfred. And now let's move on to the other unit of this banner. We also have Alfred's sister Celine here as one of the new heroes, and she's a green infantry mage. It does say Joyous Royal, but she definitely does not seem in joy. But yeah, here she is. And we recently got Desert Nino, so keep in mind that we do have some insane green infantry nukes. And at start of turn, she's going to be healing up 7 HP to herself, and also to any kind of allies within 3 spaces. So this description does have a little bit of an error, which they did point out. So she can heal up the HP regardless of any ally being within 3 spaces or not. She's always going to be healing up that HP to herself no matter what, and can also heal that up to the allies within 3 spaces. So this is definitely pretty nice for healing, just as a passive healing. And then she has got the damage reduction, which is based on the number of allies who are above half health times 15. So this can go all the way up to 45%. And this is definitely going to be pretty nice when you're going to be initiating, and you can easily stack this up with Remote Sparrow and make her as a pretty strong player phase unit. She can also get +5 to all of her stats, and then she can deal true damage based on the number of allies, again, who are above half health times 5. And this can go all the way up to max 15 true damage per hit. So this is going to be pretty nice for doing a lot of true damage, especially when you're supported by Brattle Catria or by Winter Cordelia. So this is definitely going to be helping her stand out a bit as a nuke, and the damage reduction is definitely going to be helping her. But we just got Nino, who has got 3 movement, so that is pretty incredible. And she also has the unhindered movement. So you have to keep that in mind. These units are very close to each other, and Celine is going to be a lot more support oriented because of being able to heal up HP, not only at start of the turn to the allies, but also after the combat. So she is going to be a pretty nice AoE healing unit essentially with this weapon. And then she's got Iceberg as her special, Speed Resistance Ideal 4, and Canto Control, which is a pretty big thing. So almost after a year, we have got Canto Control on the regular summon pool. So Medius does not need to be foddered anymore, and Canto Control is an incredible skill for Aether Raids defense and for summoner duels. It can literally like win you the matches. So it is really good for just restricting the Canto movement of so many of the enemies who have these Canto weapons and run these Canto skills. So it is going to be pretty good for the fodder. And Celine herself, I think, is a decent unit overall, who can function as a nuke with that true damage, and has got the damage reduction to safely initiate, and also can heal up the HP, which is definitely pretty unique. Kind of reminds me of Guinevere in that regard. Guinevere can also do that, but she is going to be a green infantry mage and not blue. And then we have got Chloe as the Lance Flyer. So she's actually not the Demote unit of this banner, and she is going to be functioning as a pretty unique Lance Flyer, honestly, all things considered. So she's got Dreaming Spear as her preferred weapon, which is going to be giving her -1 special cooldown and +5 to all of her stats. And she can get all of the other effects from her weapon only if there is any kind of ally support pair on your team. So it should be excluding Chloe herself. So you can just have anyone with ally support. It doesn't really matter the level of their support. As long as there's any kind of ally support pair on your team, she's going to be able to get the guaranteed follow-up attack. She's going to be able to inflict the guard effect on the opponent. And she's also going to be able to deal true damage based on 20% of her resistance and have flat damage reduction by 20% of her resistance. So this flat damage reduction is not going to be getting pierced through Deadeye or lethality or anything like that. So it is a bit similar to Spring Maria, Asker that we have seen, and of course Brave Dimitri, but instead of scaling off her defense, this actually scales off her resistance. So she is going to be functioning as a pretty nice flyer who, after running IO Shield Sacred Seal, doesn't really care about lethality or Deadeye, which is going to be pretty amazing, especially when she comes with Distant Stance in her slotty skill. She also has the tier 4 version of Pegasus Flight, which has definitely improved a bit. And if you do want to fodder off her for Distant Stance and Pegasus Flight 4, then you can just fodder off Fila, which is going to be, pretty optimal. And then this tier 4 version of Pegasus Flight does inflict -4 attack and defense on the foe in the combat. And at start of combat, it takes the visible speed stat of the unit and compares it against foe speed -10. So if you win that visible speed check, then the skill proceeds. And after that, she's going to be able to inflict the debuff on foe's attack and defense, depending on 80% of the difference between their resistance stat. So this is going to be able to go all the way up to -8. So that is pretty helpful for just stacking up a lot of attack and defense debuff. And finally, if the sum of visible speed and visible resistance of the unit is higher than the sum of foe for their speed and resistance, then the foe cannot make a follow-up attack. So it does provide her with the follow-up negation, and she can function as a pretty good Omnibreaker type of unit because she does get the guaranteed follow-up attack from her weapon, and then this skill does provide her with follow-up negation. Now this is definitely going to be a niche skill because you need to have the speed stat, and you also need to have the resistance stat to make use out of the skill, and it is going to be having the same users like before, like Sida, Claire, all of those units who can make use of Pegasus Flight 3 are going to be enjoying the tier 4 version of the skill. And this is a more mixed phase option if you just want to get more, debuffs on the opponent in the mixed phase. And you're going to be having an opportunity cost if you did want to run a Trace skill or Fluent Trace, which does have partial null follow-up. So Chloe is going to be functioning as a pretty nice Lance Flyer with this flat damage reduction from her resistance. And here she's going to be taking out this Thief here with this Glimmer. So yeah, she's going to be stopping his follow-up attack and does a guaranteed follow-up attack herself. And the final unit and the star of this banner is going to be Female Alear. I don't know where Male Alear is. They're definitely not giving him as a free reward like Male Byleth. They have confirmed that. So he's not like a purchase bonus like a lot of people, including me, were speculating. So Female Alear, of course, is a sword infantry unit, and here we can actually see her stats. So she is extremely fast with base 46 speed, and we can also see that she has got the ally support with Marthyr, and that is going to be mattering with her weapon, as you'll see in a second. So she does have Libération as her preferred weapon, which does give her minus in special cooldown. And at sort of combat, if she's at or above 25% HP, then she can provide the assault troop status to herself and the support partners within 3 spaces of her. So this is absolutely insane for initiating and just hit and running. And this is going to be, the same as the assault troop skill, which, Summer Edelgard has got. So this is going to be pretty incredible for any kind of armor unit that you're going to be pairing her up with. They're just going to be able to have a player phase. And this is also really helpful for many infantry and flying allies, especially if they run a clash skill. And if they have a trace skill, then they're going to be able to hit and run a lot easily. And in sort of combat, she's able to get +5 to all of her stats, and also inflicts the speed and defense debuff on foe during the combat, depending on the allies that are from distinct titles within 3 spaces times 4, and then adding 4 to it. So this can go all the way up to -12 speed and defense debuff on the foe, which is quite a lot. And then finally, she has got speed-based damage reduction up to 40%. So this is pretty standard stuff. And the way that she can stand out is definitely because of the fact that she can provide the assault troop status to the support partner, which is going to be pretty helpful, especially in something like Summoner Duels and in Aether Raids offense. She's definitely a player-focused unit because when the AI is going to be using her, they're not going to be able to have this ally support basically in the AI's hands. She also has Luna, attack speed ideal 4, and the tier 4 version of Close Call 4. So this is a pretty nice skill. It does give you -4 speed and defense debuff on the opponent. And again, it does have the damage reduction built into it, but this can go all the way up to 50% actually. And it also has a mini phantom speed built into it. It is like phantom speed 1.5 because its phantom speed is like +7 speed. So yeah, imagine having the speed creep upon speed creep to the point where Close Call has phantom speed, which is pretty incredible. So this is definitely going to be helping you winning the speed check for getting the damage reduction from her weapon and also the slot B skill, and also through Speed Smoke 4. And she does have Speed Smoke 4, which is going to be giving her even more damage reduction. So with her entire kit, she's able to get some insane damage reduction that is based off her speed. But keep in mind, all of this damage reduction is completely pierceable unless, you of course run Godlike Reflexes, which is not going to be pierceable by Deadeye or Lethality. So that is going to be a pretty good special on her, especially if you provided the special charges support from someone like Na, for example. And you can also run Vital Astra on her. And I think Vital Astra and Time Pulse 4 is going to be the optimal build for her, which a lot of people are going to be running. So she's basically going to be functioning as a God Sword with this damage reduction. And she doesn't really have any kind of null follow-up in her weapon or anything like that. So you can just run that as a Sacred Seal or outsource that, as it's a lot easier to do that now. So yeah, she's going to be pretty amazing with all of the damage reduction stacking up. We have seen these kinds of units before, so she's nothing really new in that regard, but Assault Troop status definitely spices things up a decent amount, I would say. And her fodder is just absolutely amazing. You can get like all tier 4 versions of the skill, which is pretty amazing for arena scoring or for just having a premium kit. So here we can see that she's going to be triggering Luna, taking out this Lance Knight. We already know her stats, and she just gets the Speed Smoke dot status after the combat. So yeah, this is going to be the banner. There's no demote unit out of this banner, no 4-star focus. We also have our new OC here. I really love his design. So that is going to be our new OC. And for the Grand Hero Battle, we're going to be getting Lumera, Alear's mom, as the Grand Hero Battle free unit. And she's actually not a dragon. She does have a sword in her sprite. So she is going to be a sword infantry unit most likely. And we do have her art. So I hope that she can have a preferred weapon, and I hope that she's not left in the dust with like an inheritable weapon, because there's definitely the possibility of having a pretty nice preferred weapon free to play in infantry unit. And we have seen that before in Hold, so I don't think there's any reason to not give her a preferred weapon. We also have Etie as the Archer Instant Demote unit. So you're going to be able to get the 5-star copies of her from the quests from the banner, and that is going to be essentially the Demote unit. She is an Archer, and I don't think she has got a preferred weapon looking at her sprite, but then again, I could be wrong, and maybe that's some kind of preferred weapon. So yeah, a lot of bow demotes, as we can see with Kiragi, with Etie. We also have Ninja Heat. We have Winter and Net. So I'm not sure till when we have to wait for the Arcane Bow. But yeah, that is pretty much going to be the banner. So let me know in the comments what you think about this banner, and if you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps tremendously, and if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member down below as well. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as Chloe's weapon if you do not have ally support on your team. So with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.